lot of lessons learned, and I got high expectations for Desmond. So we're going to be hard on Desmond, and because he's a good player, and he can take that kind of coaching, and he understands that, you know, we're not waiting on him as a rookie. Like, we're trying to speed him up. So he made some good throws. There's some things he's got to clean up, especially in the operation.
Arthur Smith, coach of the Atlanta Falcons, on rookie Desmond Ridder, who may or may not become the starter. Who knows? Marcus Mariota's got a history of getting a little banged up. Maybe that opens the door. Maybe Ridder just takes the job. They got some weapons down there in Atlanta, though. Sims and I were talking about that earlier this week with Drake London when he's healthy, Kyle Pitts, who looks phenomenal, and whoever plays quarterback there is going to be in a good spot. All right, most impressive rookies we've seen so far, Myles Simmons, in this preseason. That's today's draft. Since I'm not really in a good mood, I'm just going to give you the first pick anyway. I'm in a moderate mood. Because of my moderate mood, I'll give you the first pick.
Thanks,
I'm going to give it to you anyway. I could be in a bad mood, and I'll still give you the first pick.
Okay. Anyway, can I have George Pickens, please, as my pick for most impressive rookies so far? Look, I mean, we talked about this at the top of the show, how he has become one of the prime candidates as a betting favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he looks the part right now. I mean, the fact that he's able, as a rookie in the preseason, to make toe-tapping catches in the back corner of the end zone like that, that's pretty darn incredible to me. And you've also seen him make some really good sideline catches. He just, like I said, he looks the part. He won a national championship with Georgia last year, so he has that winning experience. I think he's going to make any quarterback who he's playing with look better. Give me George Pickens.
And that strength of the line of scrimmage when it's time to run block, just one little shove and puts a guy on his ass. I love that clip, too, from the Seahawks Week 1 preseason game. That would have been my first one. I got a long list of guys here. I'm going to throw a curveball because I think of the rationale that Jerry Seinfeld used, one of the many things added to the Myles Simmons to watch before I die list, and hopefully you eventually will watch the full series. He always wanted to leave the audience wanting more. So I'm going to pick Malik Willis because he always leaves me wanting more, specifically when they remove him in the middle of a drive because maybe they're concerned that he's too good, too fast. But the Titans quarterback is fascinating. There was a play in this most recent preseason game where he's in the pocket and he moves around a little bit and he does the Patrick Mahomes sidearm throw, and I want to see more Malik Willis. So I like what I've seen. I want to see what he can become. All due respect to Ryan Tannehill, but I got a feeling by next year Malik Willis is going to be the guy.
I don't think that that's too far removed from something that could be the truth. It seems like he needs a little more seasoning, at least with what Mike Vrabel has said about him. They talk about him staying in the pocket a little bit longer, not using his legs as much. And he's mentioned that too. But, they drafted him more or less as a project. That's why you get him in the third round. And you've seen some of the potential, some of the flashes of why they think he can be a really good quarterback going forward. But, I'm also going to stick at quarterback, but I'm going to go a little further off the board, which I kind of thought you were going to talk about this guy, and I'm glad you didn't. Skylar Thompson from the Miami Dolphins has been a really good quarterback throughout this preseason. And it's not really somebody that you think, or it's like it's a 7th round pick at a K-State. But if you look at what he's been able to do in that offense, it feels like he's playing within the scheme very well. He's delivered accurate passes. He's averaging over 9.1 yards per attempt. He's completing 76% of his passes, a 121.3 passer rating, which is astronomical. Like, I'm not saying that there should be a quarterback controversy in Miami down there, but if somebody falters, who knows? Looks like Skylar Thompson might be able to get the ball out there to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Jasicki. I don't know, but could happen.
And this was a guy that was scouted and picked by the current regime. Mike McDaniel inherited Tua. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to be the primary backup, but if there is somebody to develop, if there is another path to go, it doesn't mean they have to go out and try to lure Lamar Jackson or try to find some other veteran quarterback who chooses to come there, especially because they don't have a first-round pick next year to utilize, given the whole Tom Brady tampering thing. Nice little throw over the top for a touchdown. Yeah, hey, I like it. And again, Mike McDaniel, like Kyle Shanahan, it could be driven by – that's a great celebration, too. It could be driven by
– What's that?
The system. It's the system. And if you can work the system, you can be the quarterback. Next one for me is Damien Pierce. We didn't see him in week 2 of the preseason, which tells me that Lovie Smith, the coach of the Texans, has already seen enough based on week 1, that he's going to be the guy that got him in bubble wrap. Look, go ahead and let Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead take the reps. Damien Pierce, we don't need to see anymore. He's going to be one of those guys, kind of like James Robinson a couple of years ago, where when you're doing your fantasy draft, if you haven't done it yet, and as Matthew Berry and I discussed in Canton a few weeks back, delay it as long as you can. The calendar is your friend when it comes to doing your draft, because then you ensure that a guy doesn't get injured. But when you're doing that draft, Damien Pierce may be a guy to snag. And that's how you can tell the people in your league who really know what's going on versus the ones who are just, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, all the big names, and not waiting to maybe drag a guy to the roster that's going to be great. I think he's going to be great, and we didn't see a lot of him, but we saw enough to come to the conclusion that he can be special, Myles.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I've seen so far out of him this preseason. And, not that it's all been that much, but like you said, when he's not playing in the preseason, and that's what you do with running backs of consequence, you don't put them out there and put them at risk, then it does say a lot about what they think of him. Let me go my third pick. I'll just go with the straight up kind of easy thing, but I have been impressed by him. Trayvon Walker. I mean, it's a number 1 overall pick. Yes, but the way things have gone with the Jaguars the last couple of years, I feel like and maybe it's just this draft class too, he's like one of the least ballyhooed, first round number 1 overall picks that we've had, I feel like, in a little while. But he went out there, he made some plays against the Raiders. Now, didn't necessarily do as much against the Browns, but then in the last week against the Steelers, he made some more plays. So I think that he has been what they need him to be so far, which is kind of that relentless guy off the edge. And you need that if you're going to be a number 1 overall pick. And it was sort of interesting, when he was coming out, it's like, well, he wasn't always asked to do those kinds of things at Georgia, but it seems like, at least for right now, the Jaguars have found that good fit for that role.
And look, I had him on the list as well. I think he's been surprisingly good. Extra pressure on him because he was selected over Aiden Hutchinson, the guy that we thought would be the number 1 guy and had that perfect fit in Detroit. And they're going to be compared apples to apples all year long. I'm going to go to the bottom of the round, though, because Hutchinson's been great. We expected it. George Karlaftis, the edge rusher from Purdue, who went to the Chiefs with the 30th overall pick. I don't know what we expected, but the guy shows up. The guy's getting it done. The guy's getting around the edge. The guy's putting heat on the quarterbacks. That's what they need as they I don't know how close to the end Frank Clark is. He's been kind of a disappointment. He's got the off-field issue he's got to deal with. But they know the importance of having someone else along with Chris Jones, who they've dabbled with moving around, but he's the most effective on the inside as a pass rusher. So Karlaftis could get some favorable matchups. If they're worried about Jones, if they're worried about Clark, there's a chance he could have a big impact this year. He's looked great so far in the preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on my list too. So if you had taken Skylar Thompson, maybe that's who I would have gone with. But, I like that the Chiefs went out and they made that move. And they also brought in Dunlap, and that's a veteran guy that they can also bring off the edge. So they will have more of a rotation there. That defense has gone through some changes, right? They don't have Tyrann Mathieu anymore. They brought in Reed as a safety. So we'll see how exactly it works out. But I think there's reason to be excited about Karlaftis if you are a Chiefs fan.
The best offensive lines have 5 guys who never leave the field and play all year long and don't get injured. The best defensive lines have 7 or 8 that are constantly coming in and wearing out those 5 guys that don't get a break and breaking through to get to the quarterback.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.